Hello everybody, welcome to Happy Wolf Art and video 3 of Learning German with the California Kids. Deutsch lernen mit den kalifornischen Kindern. Here we have the beach kids and their Viking forms. That's a part of this first story arc eventually that we'll get to in this course. But let's move on. So last lesson, so video lesson number 2, we ended with this text here, and part of the homework was to read that text, try and understand it grammatically as far as the vocabulary. So let's go ahead and go through it just briefly. Also, you can read along to practice your pronunciation. Guten Tag, Deutschstudenten. Ich heiße Karl Hauer. So ich heiße, right? We've already dealt with that. You'll start to notice these conjugational endings will vary. Right now, for the ich form is an e ending, but you'll notice some changes happening. Karl ist mein Vorname. So Karl is my first name. Vor means before name, so first name. Mein is a possessive pronoun. We've seen a bunch of these already. Mein, dein, sein, ihr. Okay, and we'll see some ending changes occurring on those. So these are patterns we're looking for. Und Hauer is my Nachname. Hauer is my after name. Nach means after. Or mein Familienname. Familienname, family name, that's the more heavily used term instead of Nachname. Ich komme aus Beachland, Kalifornien. So I come from or out of Beachland, California. Aber ich wurde in Karlsruhe, Deutschland, geboren. And I don't expect any students at the beginning level to fully understand this sentence, but here wurde means became. This is a passive construction. In German, English doesn't generally use a lot of passive constructions, but I became born in Karlsruhe, Germany, Deutschland. Ich wohne sehr gern hier. Ich wohne, I live. Sehr gern is I very much like. So gern, close to a verb, means you like to do that activity. So I like to live very much here in Beachland. So pronunciation-wise, I-E, you pronounce the E like in English E, hier. In Beachland. Und ich bin hier aufgewachsen. Okay, ich bin. Karl ist. Okay, we're starting to see conjugations of the verb sein, to be. So I am, Karl is. These GA forms, these are past tense. Eventually, you'll get to that. That's German too, generally speaking. Okay, spoken past tense. Deswegen. Deswegen. Remember the W is like a V sound. Deswegen sage ich, dass ich aus Beachland komme. That I from Germany, or from Beachland, sorry, come. Notice that the verb is not in the second position. This das bumps the conjugated verb to the end of the clause here, or end of the sentence. So ich komme aus Beachland. Und das, here's that das again. Beachland's your subject. Meine Heimat ist. Ich liebe meine Heimat. Okay? Und hier haben wir die 4 Freunde, the 4 friends, the beach kids. Alright, and let's move on just briefly. So generally speaking, in a class environment, you'll read a text, you'll have questions to answer about the text. This will help you practice your reading skills, your writing skills. And so what I always tell my students, find keywords, Vorname, and if we go back one, you find Vorname in the text. And then you have the answer. Karl ist mein Vorname. So I know this question's a little bit lame because the answer is in the question. Wie ist Karls Vorname? So how is Karl's first name? Wie ist dein Name? Right? We practiced that question earlier. I've highlighted ist just to show that the verb is in the second position. So generally speaking, what you can often do, not always, but you can take the vocabulary that's in a question and you can rearrange it in the answer form. So Karl ist sein Vorname. Okay, so sein Vorname ist Karl, or Karl ist sein Vorname. Okay, so you're rearranging the words here. You can even say Karl's Vorname ist Karl. Okay, all right. Frage Nummer 2. Frage Nummer 2. Question number 2. Wie ist sein Nachname? His last name, his family name. Sein Nachname ist would be the answer, right? Sein Familienname, sein Nachname ist Hauer. Okay? And if you're unsure about what the form of the verb should be, just look at the form of the verb in the question and reuse that. As long as you're not changing the subject, the form will be the same. Okay? So we're looking for Nachname und Familienname. In the text here we have Nachname und Familienname, and then we see Hauer is his last name. Okay? So the answer, sein Familienname ist Hauer. Frage Nummer 3. Question number 3. Frage Nummer 3. Woher kommt er? So from where, okay, a question word, does he come from? The verb is in second position. We're seeing a different conjugational ending here. In the text we saw some E endings. Okay, so where does he come from? Again, we go back to the text. Here's that verb kommen. Ich komme aus Deutschland. Okay, so that's going to be our answer here. Kommt aus Deutschland. Okay. Die letzte Frage, Nummer 4. Wo ist geboren? Here it should be wo würde geboren? I have ist just because we're introducing the verb sein. Technically it's a passive construction, or you can use war, which means was. Okay, and the answer here is wurde in Karlsruhe, Deutschland geboren, aber ist in Deutschland aufgewachsen. Okay, and we go back to the text here. Ich wurde geboren, those are the words we're looking for. Ich bin aufgewachsen hier, das ist Deutschland. Okay, so here are some questions you can practice answering about the text. Looking at the word order here, arranging some of the words into a different format, usually starting with the subject here, Karl or Familienname or or sie, and then here are the answers. You can double check your answers against and look at the word order if you would like. Okay, so that's a quick review of what we did last time. If you were to quiz yourself, here's a quick little quiz. Ask yourself these 4 questions. Whoops, let me go back one. Ask yourself these 4 questions. If you can verbally produce an answer. Wie heißt du? Ich heiße Kevin. Wie ist dein Name? Mein Name ist Kevin. Woher kommst du? Ich komme aus Riverside. Wo wohnst du? Ich wohne in Riverside. Okay? So if you can verbally produce these without looking at anything, any type of help, a book, a translation tool, then you've acquired the information, you've memorized it, you're comfortable with it, you're good to go. Alright, here just a little note on the side, the California Kids. There are 4 beach groups. Primarily we're going to be focusing on the beach kids, at least for this first part of the course. There are the pier kids, the playground kids, and the canoe kids. Yeah, those are the 4 groups. Alright, I put a couple videos here for the next new information that you'll need to learn for beginning German, German 1, and that is, or those are the numbers and the alphabet. So I'm not going to play these, I'll let you play them on your own. Main thing that you need to know about the numbers is 1 through 10. Make sure that you're able to memorize those, and then they'll start looking for patterns after that. 13, for example, 13, you'll start to see the pattern. 14, 15, 13, 3, and then 10. 14, 4, and 10. Okay? And then once you get over 20, the order of the words are going to change. For example, 20 is 20. 20. Once you get to 21, it's going to be ein und 20. And in this video, you'll see the text and you'll also hear it, so you can see this pattern I'm talking about. Ein und 20 1 and 20. 22 is 22, 2 and 20. Okay, so become familiar with that pattern. Memorize 20, 30, 40, 20, 30, 40, all the way up to 100, and then you'll have a good proficiency with the numbers. Okay, also the alphabet, really important. Work on your pronunciation. There's plenty of videos you can watch on YouTube to help you with your pronunciation. This will give you some of the basic sounds of the ABCs, and there even is a 40-minute ABC video. If you put in that into YouTube, it'll come up. And what is good about this 40-minute video is you can see, for example, A, and it'll bring up the word Apfel, right? And it'll bring up various words. B, also bunt, okay? And so you'll hear the sound of the individual letter in a word context, and that's very helpful too. Okay, so I'll let you play these videos on your own, but we're going to move on. Oops.
Heute.
Okay, we're going to move on to the next video. So this is Easy German. They also have a lot of really good videos, fun videos too. So do explore those, and that would be great. Okay.
A.
All right. So using these numbers and these letters from the alphabet, this next group of questions and answers are very good conversational questions and answers. Again, just like with the first video, the 4 questions. I think we started with 2 and then the 2 for the second video. These are all conversational, but they're laying the base for the language. Basic vocabulary, sentence structure, grammar, and so forth. Okay, so do work on these too. I'll go over them briefly with you. Wie, here's a question word. Okay, wie alt, how old? Bist du, are you? How old are you? Ich bin 40 Jahre alt. I'm 40 years old. I'm just throwing out a number here. You can put ich bin 10 Jahre alt. Ich bin 20 Jahre alt. Ich bin 20. Okay, so this is a complete sentence. You don't need the Jahre alt if you don't want to, but I am 20 years. This E is actually a plural. I'm 20 years old. Wie alt bist du? Okay. Wie ist deine Adresse? Here we have a possessive pronoun again. We've seen mein. Here's dein, sein. Okay. And there are endings on some of these depending on the gender of the noun, and we'll come to that in a later episode. I'll explain that part of the language later, but for now we're starting to see some changes being added onto these possessive pronouns. So wie ist deine Adresse? How is your address? How is it written? Meine Adresse ist, and then we have a street name, Sanhonstraße, and then the address number, Nummer 1, Nummer 2, Nummer 3. Okay, in Germany the number comes after the street. In the United States, the number comes first. Pardon, that was my phone ringing. And so the address number comes after the state. Let me turn off this call volume so that doesn't make any more noise. Okay, wie ist deine Telefonnummer, right? When you meet people, you're going to be asking for a telephone number sometimes. Okay, wie ist deine Telefonnummer? Meine Telefonnummer ist, and then I have Vorwahl, because this is the area code, and you can give a number there after you've practiced your numbers. 805, 805, 123, 456. Okay? Wie ist deine Telefonnummer? Wie ist deine E-Mail-Adresse? Ja, meine E-Mail-Adresse ist, and then we're going to use the alphabet that you're just learning, you're just starting to practice. VALDEKEONA at gmail.com oder com. Okay, and so after you've practiced the alphabet, the pronunciation of individual letters, if somebody asks you, how do you spell your name? What's your email address? then you're able to sound it out. And it does take some practice, so be kind to yourself that way. Wie schreibt man Kevin zum Beispiel? Das ist mein Name. Hier habe ich großes und kleines. So we see a capital K. So all you say is großes K, yeah? Kleines E, kleines V, kleines I, kleines N. Okay, you don't have to say groß and klein, but I'm adding vocabulary to your palette, if you will. Groß is big, klein is small. Okay, so this is new vocabulary having to do with numbers and the alphabet. You're adding to your palette, if you will. Okay, Deutsch lesen. Just like with the previous video, you have a text, and these texts generally concern the California kids, so as you get to know them as a group, you're also learning German vocabulary and grammar and so forth. So let's read this together. Wir sind die kalifornischen Kinder. We are the California kids. California here is an adjective in German, okay? And we'll eventually talk some more about definite articles, adjective endings, plural forms, and all that later. Ich heiße Karl und ich bin 10 Jahre alt. Ich heiße Karl und bin. So ich is the subject, I am called, and then this ich is connected with bin also. I've highlighted the verbs here just so you can see where they are positionally in the sentence. Again, verbs generally are in the second position in a sentence, unless there's some rule that changes that, like the word das we saw earlier, okay, with da and then sa. Okay, das hier ist Wendy. This is a different form of das. That here is Wendy. So Carl's talking in this text. I am Carl. I'm 10 years old. Das hier is Wendy. If you see the cursor, das hier is Wendy. Sie ist 9 Jahre alt. She is 9 years old. Sie ist 9. Und Tubbs, das hier ist Tubbs, und Katrin sind Geschwister. They are siblings. So we have our subject. It's two people, so it's plural. They are. Sie sind. Sie sind Geschwister. Tubbs ist 8 Jahre alt und Katrin ist 7. Katrin ist 7, das ist Tubbs, das hier ist Karl, ist der Älteste und Wendy. Okay? Und hier steht, wir lieben Beachland, we love Beachland. Beachland is our home, or homeland, or home. This is a t-shirt on my TeeSpring site, so if you do enjoy the California kids and would like to look for some merchandise for that, you're welcome to look at the TeeSpring. There's a bunch of t-shirt options there. Okay. Alright, here's a video, and what I would like you to do, I'm not going to play this video now, play it on your own time. In this video, they'll do a lot of introductory stuff that we've been practicing. Names, wie heißt du, woher kommst du, was studierst du, what do you study, deine Telefonnummer, wie ist dein Name, and there's other things that you will not understand. But what's important is, as you're listening to the video, read the subtitles, okay? One of the things that when you're learning a language is you need to hear these breaks between words, and you'll slowly acquire this skill. At the start, it all sounds like noise blurred together, and eventually you'll hear wie ist deine Telefonnummer instead of wie ist deine Telefonnummer. It just sounds like a slurry of sounds. Wie ist deine Telefonnummer? Okay, so go ahead and listen to that. See if you've increased some of your knowledge and skill and understanding. Again, this is listening comprehension. You're going to have different forms of comprehension: listening, reading, writing. All of these are different skills, and speaking is the most difficult and takes the longest time to acquire. Okay, all of these earlier forms, reading, right, and writing it down, these are reading, for example, is a passive form. You hear it, you understand it. You don't have to produce it. An active production is more difficult. Okay, so go ahead and listen to that and see if you've made some progress. And I'll go on to the next slide here. So this last slide, or actually second to last slide, has to do with the verb sein, which means to be. And with verb conjugations, you're going to have these charts that you need to memorize and become familiar with. So here we have pronouns on the left side, and we have plural pronouns on this side, singular and plural. Okay? And so ich bin, du bist. And what I'd encourage you to do is memorize these, try and form a little rhythm, melody pattern. Ich bin, du bist, sie sind, und so weiter. Yeah? All right. And the last slide here, this is my Instagram information. If you would like to look at art, news, any updates regarding the California Kids, books, I'm currently working on formatting, so the English version is almost available. The German version, I'll have to do the formatting for that next. And if you're interested in any of the t-shirts associated with the California Kids, do look at my TeeSpring shop. Okay, das war's. Schönen Tag noch. Wir sehen uns nächstes Mal mit Video 4. Ja? Okay, tschüss.